One of the most requested video in the last 20 days that I've started this 30 days challenge has to be about doing PhD in Russia. You guys have asked a lot that I'm at the point in my life that I'm just like, can you guys let me breathe? Did you know you can actually study in Russia for your PhD fully funded? Because that is what I know. People don't pay. Do people use their money to do PhD? No, I don't think so. And that's why I'm making this video for you especially that wants to do PhD in Russia and then you're not sure if it's the right thing for you to do. In this video, I'm going to be covering everything from admission process, from admission requirement to how much it costs to do PhD, to funding and career prospects, and what you can do as a PhD student while you're studying here. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Funto. I'm a Nigerian living and studying in Moscow, Russia. If this is your first on my YouTube channel, welcome to the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. On my YouTube channel, I create content about living and studying in Russia and every single thing in between my life. Whatever happens in my life, I document here. Not necessarily everything, but some things I think you guys need to know about. But that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about doing a PhD in Russia, what it takes, what it entails, what are the demands, and all of that. Literally covering everything that needs to be covered that I was not aware of. That if I knew about it, I probably would have not said I want to do a PhD here. But that being said, let's get started with the video. The first question I would ask you is, why do you want to do a PhD in Russia? Again, like every other video that I have done, I'm always starting with why, because it matters a lot why you want to do something. If you want to do it because you think that's going to be like the easiest way out, or it's going to be like your easier route, I would actually think you should reconsider. Because in Russia's education system is as, I don't know how to say it, but Russian education system is not something you want to use as a backup plan or like an easy way out of something. Because until you get into the system, you will not realize how difficult and how stringent, or how it's going to test your level of patience and everything. Russia is known for worldwide for like their research thingy. How did I even put it here? Russia is well known for their research tradition. Russia has the most research institutes in Eastern Europe, and that speaks a lot about the quality of education you're going to get if you're going to be doing your PhD here. And I also think, based on my experience, that their PhD is the most demanding you can ever come across in Eastern Europe. And I'm not trying to downplay any other school or any other country's educational system, but based on what I've experienced, that you can actually ask every other international student that is doing their PhD here, they will tell you the same thing. They are good with research in social sciences, science, technology, engineering, medicine, and humanities, and this speaks a lot to their prowess, to whatever they do. Many universities in Russia actually is also English taught, especially schools in Moscow. You can get English medium PhD in Moscow, but they're not that so much because they just started doing English medium courses. Like my program, for instance, as at 2022, they were not doing English medium for my program. They started English medium with my batch, with my set, 2023 set. That was when they started English medium. It can be very tricky for you to find English medium courses, but in that case, if you're going to be doing like a Russian medium program, you are going to be mandated to do a language program for 1 year. It is mandated. If you're going to be doing your PhD in Russian, you will do 1 year preparatory school before your 3 years, 4 years PhD program. One of the most interesting things about doing your PhD in Russia as well is also because they partner with Asian and European universities, which also gives you the leverage of collaboration, which also gives you the exposure you need as a PhD student for your career, for whatever you want to do. My institute sends like memo every time that if you want to go for this fellowship, you want to go for this thing. That's also one thing about studying your PhD here. Because of the partnership they have with these countries and with these schools, you also tend to be able to explore, to also see life outside the four corners of your own classroom, which is exciting for me actually. One thing that makes PhD in Russia very attractive is because of the government scholarship, right? For PhD in Russia, you can either apply through the Open Door Scholarship or through your university. Universities such as HSC, Moscow State University, and RUDN have scholarship as well that you can apply for your PhD. That was the scholarship I got. I applied for Open Doors as well. I got admission for RUDN, but I didn't go to RUDN because honestly I did not like RUDN. I still don't like RUDN, and I was really happy I got like the scholarship I got from my university, and I'm actually doing so good with it. You can apply for as many scholarships as you want to. The most important thing is that you put your best foot forward in every scholarship you apply to. There's also a bilateral scholarship you can apply to, just what I'm talking about, just the regular scholarships as well. But then it's hard for me to see people who study PhD on their own funding, especially international students. There's really no reason why you should fund your PhD yourself, to be honest. I just thought to put that out there. Now that I'm talking about why you should study your PhD in Russia, why you should do your PhD in Russia, and scholarships are available for you. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Now that I was talking about why you should do your PhD here and the scholarship and funding opportunities that are available for you, let's talk about what it actually requires for you to do a PhD here in Russia. The first thing first is a master's degree. You need an equivalent, so it could be like a postgraduate degree, a postgraduate diploma, I think that's what they call it, or a master's degree for you to be able to do your PhD in Russia. And I don't know about other universities, but HSC specifically requires that you have a certain grade. HSC requires that you have 7.5, I guess 7.5, which is an approximate of 3.0 over 4 or 4.0 over 5. For you, literally, you have to be a first class graduate for you to do your PhD in HSC. I can speak for HSC. Then you need to have a research proposal. You need to write a research proposal of 10 to 15 pages, highlighting the goal of your study, just like normal research proposal, right? Your title, your research title, the goal of your study, the objective, research question, the gap you're trying to fill, all of those things, research problem, all of those things, you need to be well detailed in your paper. And also the referencing style we use majorly in Russia is the APA referencing style. So when you're writing a research proposal, ensure that your references is an APA reference style. Do your insight citation very well. Also, because Russia is a research country, they pay attention to every single detail. If you use ChatGPT to write your research proposal, they will find out, they will know, and you will not be considered for any admission process at all. I was reviewing a paper for a subscriber, and from the first line, even without putting into like any plagiarism checker thing, from the first line, I knew the paper was written with an AI thingy. Please, let's try to avoid that. If me that I'm not a professional knows that a paper is written with AI, we'll talk more of those that are using a system to figure it out. You need a motivational letter as well, or a statement of purpose as it may be called in different countries. You also need your academic CV, not your regular CV, not the CV you're using at your workplace. Your academic CV is I can put a link to a sample of an academic CV in the description box, but an academic CV is literally detailing your academic experiences. You start from what you did during your bachelor's degree. What did you do during your bachelor's degree? What did you like? What was your thesis topic? What did you get in your thesis? What was the point you got in your thesis? And who was your supervisor? What was the research all about? What did you do during masters? What was research all about as well? These are the things that you need to have in your academic CV. You also need to tell us if you have like a research experience outside of this, or you've been working on something that has to be related to what you are studying for your PhD. If the work you do is actually also related to the PhD program you're applying to, it would also help. But ensure that when you're putting that experience in your CV, you need to make sure that it aligns to what you're trying to apply for. Make sure the duty, the responsibilities, the roles, and everything aligns with what you're trying to apply for. Also, if you've attended conferences, you need to include it. If you have a paper that you've published, you need to include it. If there's a paper you've collaborated with someone before, you need to include it. Just make it as robust as possible. That will give you like an upper hand over any other person that does not have anything aside from like their actual degree. Some schools do entrance exams, like proper entrance exam that you do online. Some do like oral interview. For like my university, my department, for example, it was an oral interview, and at this oral interview they are trying to see what you actually know. They will ask you questions based on what you actually wrote in your proposal and your CV. They will ask you about the theory you used for, they'll ask about the theory you used for your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and all of those questions that needs to be asked. That's what they ask you at the oral interview. You also need to have proof of English language, English proficiency. If it's English, let them know that you studied in English before. And if it's Russian, you don't need to prove, because you definitely do like a language school. But if it's English, tell them you're a native speaker, you studied all your program in English, your country speaks English, and all that. That's basic stuff. And PhD students in Russia also work as teaching assistant or research assistant. Not everybody, but yeah, that opportunity, that window is also opened for PhD students who come to study in Russia as well. Just thought to put that in like that. Now we'll talk about the structure and the duration of a PhD in Russia. It takes 3 to 4 years to do your PhD in Russia. That is very fast. But then the disadvantage of doing your PhD within 3 to 4 years is that there's going to be a lot of pressure on you. In the sense that you have to, for HSC for instance, you have to publish a minimum of 3 papers, 1 dissertation, attend conferences, attend seminars, and you also have to have research experience. It's a whole lot of requirements, to be honest, that you need to brace yourself up on. And where the pressure comes in is that after your second year, when you do your second year attestation, you should have at least 50% of your research done, of your dissertation done by the end of your second year. You should also have at least 2 papers accepted for publication, 1 published, 1 accepted for publication. If not, you'll be kicked out of the program. That is where the pressure actually comes in for PhD in Russia. I don't know about other universities, but I'm talking for HSC right now. Like I said, you focus on independent research, you focus on publishing papers, you focus on your dissertation and attestation at twice in a year, autumn and spring attestation. So those 2. What are the opportunities for you as a PhD student in Russia? First of all, you have an opportunity to work at a university. Most time the university you finish from, because they know you, they know your capabilities. That is one of the major things you can do. Most people that graduate from after their PhD in Russia, most time become professors, assistant professors. Some people travel back abroad, travel outside of Russia to go into what they really want to do. For people that don't want to go delve into academia like me, I'm not shying away from staying back in the academia, but it's like an option for me. I'm not pushing it away. But one thing people do is also go into consulting, which is something I would love to do in the education policy space. Go into consulting, become professors, associate professors, work as researchers. PhD in Russia is widely recognized, it's widely respected. Alumni partnerships in Russia, because in HSC for instance, we have like an alumni office, right? And the good part of it is that alumni connect each other with jobs, opportunities, and all of those things. And I think with this, I've been able to answer your question about doing a PhD in Russia. If you have any other question I think I did not answer, let me know in the comment section. And with this, we come to the end of today's video. See you guys. Bye.